Morning, Gus. This is Unit 7, WHII.7. We're talking Latin America. You can follow along with the PowerPoint, or you can fill out your notes as you listen, or you can just watch the video and fill stuff out later. Doesn't really matter to me. If you have any questions on anything, you can shoot me an email, leave a comment on the video, and I'll get back to you. That said, let's get started. So, Latin America. The Latin American revolutions were influenced by the revolutions we talked about last week. Okay, the French, the Americans, and they influenced revolutions we'll talk about next week. So, the main issue here is you had the clash of Europeans and European culture versus the indigenous culture and the cultures of the people who were already there. The Spanish conquest in Latin America saw a rapid decline of the natives. We talked about that a couple weeks ago with smallpox. Y'all remember talking about that? They wipe out the indigenous empires. You also had the importation of slaves from Africa. That they went over, they took people, ripped people from their land, and brought them over as slaves to the New World, to the Americas. And the Spanish leaders of these groups were called conquistadors to begin with, okay, conquerors. And then, once they started setting up these colonies, these conquistadors were given positions in government, okay, and they became known as viceroys. Why would they be called viceroys? Think about it. Okay, if I say Mike Pence, who am I talking about? The Vice President of the United States, right? Is he in charge? No, but is he second in line?
Yeah.
Yes, same thing here. Viceroy is vice-royals. So they're not in charge of the whole kingdom, but they're in charge of that colony. They're second in command of that colony. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. They're the most powerful people in that colony. So characteristics of the colonial system. You had colonial governments mirroring the home governments. For example, I love superheroes, okay? I mean, Marvel movies, they're my favorites. Besides The Empire Strikes Back, but with Marvel movies, they are hands down my most favorite movies to go see. That new Avengers game that came out a couple months ago, I love it, okay? Let me mute this for a second. Okay. Sorry. The Avengers game that came out last month, I love it. Anything superheroes, I love it. My son, he's 2, loves superheroes too. Okay? He has learned how to say Iron Man. He can't say Captain America, but he can say Cap, and he knows who Cap is. Hulk, Thor, Spider-Man. Can't say Black Widow yet, but he sees her and just starts saying black. So he knows what he's talking about. My son is mirroring my love for superheroes. Does that make sense? Same thing here. The colonial governments, the baby governments, are mirroring the home governments. The governments that made it. Make sense to everybody? Okay. Catholicism had a strong influence on the development of colonies. That's because Spain, Portugal, France, all these are Catholic countries. So when they set up these colonies, those colonies are Catholic as well. You have precious metals, silver, gold. They wanted to mine these metals to make money. You had major cities established as outposts of colonial authority. Havana, Cuba, Mexico City, Mexico, Lima, Peru, Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Buenos Aires, Argentina. One of these cities is not like the other 4. Okay? Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo was not at any point the capital of Brazil. These other 4 are all capitals. And also, Sao Paulo is a Portuguese colony. Brazil was Portuguese, not Spain. Only exception. Okay? There are 2 exceptions to the rule I'm about to tell you. every country we talk about with this unit was controlled by Spain, with the exception of Brazil, which was Portuguese, and Haiti, which was French. Okay? Everything else is Spanish. Everything else is Spanish. So you had a very rigid, means it can't change, class structure. We had viceroys, which we already talked about, Creoles and mestizos. Creoles were the second one down. Their parents were born in Europe, but they were born in the Americas. Does that make sense? Okay. Mestizos, one parent was born in Europe, the other parent is native. Okay? The next one down is mulattoes. We don't use that very much anymore, but it can still pop up on a test because these are the old standards. That's one parent's European, the other parent's African. Okay? Then it goes full-blooded natives and then slaves. With viceroys, you can also see peninsulares. I doubt you see it, but they're the same thing. So, like we talked about, American and French revolutions took place in the late 1700s, and then it spread to Latin America and influenced the Latin Americans. This caused independence to come to Spanish, French, and Portuguese colonies. Whew, I'm starting to get lightheaded, but anyway. Let's see, this is the first one. First one's Haiti. So Haiti gained independence from France. Okay? Haitian slaves rebelled, abolished slavery, and won independence. Haiti is the only successful slave revolt in all of history. Okay? Only one where it ever worked. And the big thing here is Haitian soldiers helped the Americans gain their independence in the 1770s. If you ever go to Savannah, Georgia, okay, there's a huge monument to Haitian soldiers because they were brought over as slaves from the French, during the American Revolution to help us win our independence. What happens is, with Savannah, the Haitian soldiers become the rear guard. Okay? They hold the line and hold off the British long enough for the American and French armies to escape. Then they get sent back to Haiti where they're slaves again. They helped us gain freedom, but they go back and they're still slaves. Can you see why they would want their own freedom? Okay? This is Toussaint Louverture. He's a former slave, military genius who led the Haitian Rebellion. Over the time of the Haitian Rebellion, Toussaint Louverture defeated the armies of France, Spain, and Britain. Okay? This guy was a genius. In Mexico, it's mainly led by Father Miguel Hidalgo. Okay? They gained their independence from Spain. Now, Hidalgo started the Mexican independence movement, but he did not see Mexico gain independence because he was killed before they gained their freedom. Okay? He was betrayed, captured, killed by the Spanish. And then you got Simon Bolivar. Simon Bolivar was native-born resident, one of the greatest generals in South America's history. Okay? He defeated the Spanish, and he gained independence for many, many nations, including Bolivia, Panama, Colombia, Peru, Venezuela. And this led to him being called the Liberator, okay? And the George Washington of South America. There are thousands of ways he's honored throughout South America, including the nation of Bolivia being named after him. You also have countries who have their money named after him. Cities, counties, states. He is highly honored. Same as Washington is honored in the United States. Okay? Does that make sense? Countries that gained independence: Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela. All of these are Spanish. Brazil gained independence from Portugal. Haiti gained independence from France. with the Monroe Doctrine. Okay? The Monroe Doctrine was basically the Americans stepping up in 1823. Monroe Doctrine was issued by President James Monroe. The guy's name is in the document. Don't get it wrong. When this was issued, it basically told Europe, stay out. Okay? The Western Hemisphere, the Americas, they're protected by the United States. If you try to settle or recolonize these nations, you're messing with us and we're going to go to war. Now, we didn't have a strong military. We didn't have that strong of a navy. So it was all smoke. Okay? We had no way to back it up. But Europe backed off. Not because they were scared of us, but because they realized, let's go colonize Asia instead. So they left the Americas alone and went to mess with Asia. Like I said, it was issued by James Monroe in 1823. Acknowledged Latin American countries to be independent. And here's the key. The United States would regard as a threat to its own peace and safety any attempt by European powers to impose their system of government on any states in the Western Hemisphere. Okay? So they're not saying, if you already have colonies, we're going to take those away. They're saying, if you try to make any new colonies, we're going to have an issue. Does that make sense? Okay. You have the opening of Japan in July of 1853 by Commodore Matthew Perry. I think this stuff's in the wrong. Yeah. Okay, opening of Japan, China, India, Suez Canal. We'll talk about those a little later on. These are in the wrong unit. Okay? So, we'll come back to those. Latin America is a very short unit. So, you guys have vocab, test review. Vocab quiz will go live tomorrow. You also have any other assignments you owe me. Okay? The last day to turn in missing assignments and work is the 9th of October. I also, just this morning, uploaded an extra credit opportunity on Classroom. Check that out. If you have any questions about it, let me know. That will be due by 8 o'clock on Thursday morning. Okay? Questions or concerns, anything like that, let me know. I will talk to you guys later.